In the vast treasury of ancient Chinese literature, one extraordinary book emerges, not only for the depth of its folklore, but for the eerily futuristic visions hidden within its pages. Visions that, in an uncanny twist, align closely with modern scientific discoveries. This enigmatic work is called Youyang Zazu, or Miscellaneous Morsels from Youyang. Written during the Tang Dynasty, it was compiled by a curious scholar named Duan Chengxi, a man captivated by the strange, the unexplained, and the long-forgotten. Fueled by his fascination, Duan set off on a journey across ancient China, gathering whispers from remote villages, mountain paths, and forgotten borders. These weren't mere legends or fables. They were chilling accounts passed down through generations, fragments of a reality perhaps far stranger than fiction. Tonight, World Mysteries invites you to open this ancient book with us, because within its fragile pages lies a story so astonishing, it may reshape how you see the moon, and the possibility that we have never truly been alone. Duan Chengxi was not just any ordinary scholar. Born into a family of great political stature, he was the son of Duan Wenchang, a respected chancellor during the reign of Emperor Muzong. It was expected that he, too, would follow a path paved with political ambition and courtly affairs. Yet, Duan Chengxi felt no desire to remain bound by the walls of the palace. Like the great historian Sima Qian before him, he was driven by a hunger to understand the true nature of the world, not through official records, but through the stories of ordinary people and the mysteries that defied imperial logic. With the support of his father, who funded his ambitious travels, Duan ventured far and wide. From the heartlands of the Central Plains to the desolate borderlands of the empire, he wandered for years, collecting tales of ghostly encounters, inexplicable phenomena, and divine apparitions. These accounts would form the essence of Youyang Zazu, a compendium that would become one of the most intriguing examples of Chinese Shiguai literature of the strange. Among the countless stories he recorded, one particular tale would continue to baffle scholars for centuries. It tells of an encounter on Mount Song, a sacred mountain steeped in mysticism and shrouded in legend. The protagonists were two men, Zheng Renben and Li Shukai, scholars and travelers who had ventured into the mountain wilderness for a leisurely journey. But as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, they found themselves lost in the thickening darkness. The winding mountain paths disappeared into shadow, and a sense of disorientation overtook them. Just when their hopes of finding shelter seemed to vanish with the light, a faint silhouette emerged ahead of them in the gloom. A small pavilion, oddly placed in the middle of nowhere. As they approached, they noticed something even stranger. A soft snoring sound echoed from within. Cautiously, they peered inside and saw a man sleeping peacefully on a stone bench. He was clad in a heavy white robe, thick as snow, with a texture unlike any fabric either of them had ever seen. The garment shimmered faintly in the moonlight, as if it were woven from frost. Zheng, mustering his courage, gently woke the man and asked for directions to descend the mountain. The man stirred, opening his eyes slowly, his expression momentarily unreadable. After a pause, he nodded and pointed a direction without saying much. But it was Li, overcome with curiosity, who asked the question that would change everything. "Forgive my boldness," he said, "but your clothing, it is not of this world. Who are you, sir, and where do you come from?" The man looked at them silently for a moment, then smiled. It was a serene, knowing smile, as if he had been waiting centuries for someone to ask that question. He raised his hand, pointing upward at the luminous full moon that hovered above the treetops. "That," he said in a calm, measured voice, "is my home." At first the two men thought he was speaking in riddles, but the man continued, his tone as clear and factual as that of a scholar delivering a lecture. "Do you know," he said, "that the moon is composed of 7 kinds of substances? Its surface is rough, uneven, not smooth like a mirror. And contrary to what many believe, the moon does not emit its own light. It merely reflects the light of the sun." The travelers were stunned. The concepts he spoke of were completely foreign to their time. This was the 9th century, centuries before the invention of the telescope, long before Newtonian physics or modern astronomy. Yet this mysterious man spoke of lunar albedo and surface composition as if they were common knowledge. "How do you know this?" Zheng finally managed to ask, his voice trembling slightly. Because I am one of the guardians of the moon, the man replied matter-of-factly. There are 82,000 of us, and we work tirelessly to maintain its surface, to correct its patterns, to ensure it continues to serve its purpose in harmony with the earth. Right now, I am resting before returning. Zheng and Li were speechless. They glanced at each other, unsure whether to laugh, run, or fall to their knees. But the man's presence was so calm, so undeniably real, that they stayed rooted in place, captivated by every word. He went on to describe landscapes upon the mountain ranges that sparkled like crystal under starlight, rivers of light that flowed without water, and fields that shimmered with energy. He explained how these features created subtle gravitational rhythms that pulled at the oceans of Earth, giving rise to tides and seasonal changes. The man also spoke of sustenance, what he and his kind consumed. He called it jade essence grain, a glowing pearl-like substance cultivated on the moon. This food, he explained, contains perfect balance. It preserves the body, cures all illness, and sustains life for centuries. We do not age as you do. We do not suffer. Then, as if to prove his words, he took out a small container and offered them a sample. The two travelers, overwhelmed with awe, accepted it with both hands. The grain was luminous, almost too beautiful to be real. As they tasted it, a gentle warmth spread through their bodies. It was unlike anything they had ever eaten. Neither rice nor millet, yet nourishing beyond comprehension. The moment felt sacred. They knelt before the man, bowing low to show their gratitude and reverence. For a brief moment, it felt as though they were in the presence of a deity, not a man. But the man waved them away gently. You must return, he said. The path I showed you will lead you down safely, but do not look back. They obeyed, hearts pounding, minds racing with wonder. But as they descended the mountain trail, Zheng couldn't help himself. After a few dozen steps, he turned around to glance at the pavilion one last time. There was nothing there, no man in white. No stone bench, no structure, only trees, rocks, and the silent face of the mountain. When they finally returned to their village, the two men recounted their story to friends and family. Many dismissed it as fantasy. Others were simply too afraid to believe. But Duan Chengxi heard the tale and wrote it down in full, preserving it in Youyang Zazu for future generations. For centuries, scholars regarded it as an allegory, perhaps a metaphor for enlightenment or the search for higher truth. But in modern times, the story began to draw attention from a different kind of audience. Astronomers and physicists marveled at the accuracy of the lunar description. The moon's surface is indeed rough, composed of silicates, basalts, and other minerals. It does not shine on its own. Its gravitational pull does in fact govern Earth's tides. These are scientific truths, confirmed only through modern technology, but somehow recorded in essence more than a millennium ago. Could it be that the story wasn't fiction after all? Could Zheng and Li have truly encountered an otherworldly being, an alien presence stationed on the moon, watching over Earth in secret? Skeptics call it coincidence. Believers call it evidence. But one thing is certain. The story has endured for over 1,000 years, surviving dynasties, revolutions, and cultural shifts. It continues to spark curiosity, wonder, and awe. Perhaps, just perhaps, the moon is not as lifeless as we think. And maybe, in the quiet folds of ancient books lie truths far older and far more profound than anything we've yet discovered. Years passed, dynasties rose and fell. Yet the story of the man in white remained, whispered through the corridors of time like a forgotten prophecy. Those who dared to revisit it found themselves asking uncomfortable questions. Who was he really? Could a being like that exist? And if so, where did he go? In the 20th and 21st centuries, when humanity finally broke free from Earth's gravitational hold and set foot on the moon, the echoes of the ancient tale resurfaced in curious ways. The descriptions offered by astronauts matched what the man had claimed: a gray, dusty, uneven landscape, void of atmosphere and life. Yet for all our technological achievements, we never did find rivers of light or jade essence grain. Some argue that this proves the tale was just symbolic. Others suggest that we only scratched the surface, that deeper secrets remain hidden beneath the lunar crust. The most provocative theory? That the man in white and the 82,000 caretakers he spoke of still exist, but in another dimension, or operating on a vibrational frequency just beyond our perception. In this view, the moon might serve not merely as a satellite, but as a kind of celestial station, a hub for watching, maintaining, or even influencing life on Earth. Of course, mainstream science has no place for such ideas. But fringe thinkers, ancient astronaut theorists, and esoteric historians point out that the moon has long been an object of mystery across cultures. In Sumerian texts, Egyptian carvings, and Native American legends, the moon is often personified, associated with watchers, keepers, or even gods who traverse the night sky and monitor the actions of humanity. Could these separate myths all be fragmented memories of the same truth? Glimpses of the same moon guardians, perceived differently across time and language? Returning to the story itself, some researchers note an interesting literary structure. Unlike many folklore tales, the narrative is unusually restrained. It lacks dramatic embellishment, moral lessons, or divine punishment, elements common in religious parables or didactic fables. Instead, the tone is calm, observational, and grounded. The man doesn't fly, cast spells, or reveal divine wrath. He simply explains, nourishes, and disappears. This understated elegance gives the account a strange credibility, as though it were not meant to entertain, but to record. This quality is part of what drew Duan Chengxi to preserve it. He was a man deeply devoted to truth, not political truth, but human truth, cultural truth, and spiritual truth. In his view, a story that survived in the oral tradition for generations must contain something of value, something worth remembering, even if it defied the boundaries of logic. Centuries later, as we look back at Youyang Zazu, we begin to see it not merely as a book of curiosities, but as a time capsule of human wonder. It holds within it the awe of an era before telescopes, before satellites, before radio waves crossed the sky. And yet, somehow, it dares to whisper things we are only now beginning to understand. Take, for instance, the concept of jade essence grain. To ancient readers, this might sound like magical food. But in modern terminology, it could be likened to synthetic nutrition or bioengineered sustenance. Scientists today are exploring algae-based superfoods, 3D-printed meals for space travel, and genetic modifications that allow crops to survive in hostile environments. Is it too far-fetched to imagine that an advanced lunar civilization, hypothetical or otherwise, could have developed a perfect nutrient source? Then there's the number: 82,000 caretakers. Why such a specific figure? It's not rounded or symbolic. Could it reflect an organizational structure, like a population size, a workforce division, or even a coded reference to something else? Some numerologists have speculated that the number may relate to cycles of the moon, orbital metrics, or ancient systems of celestial calculation lost to time. And what of the man's warning not to look back? On the surface, it may seem like a common folkloric trope, echoing the myth of Orpheus or Lot's wife. But perhaps it wasn't superstition. Perhaps it was protection. If that pavilion existed in a phase space, an interdimensional fold only visible under certain conditions, turning back might have triggered disorientation. Or worse, an irreversible entanglement with something humans aren't meant to perceive. Many argue that these are just stories. Yet others insist that stories are the only way ancient people could record experiences beyond their comprehension. Before modern physics gave us language for particles, waves, and dimensions, people used metaphor, dream, and myth. Could Youyang Zazu be an early form of disclosure, an encoded account of contact between Earth and something beyond? As we continue to search the heavens for extraterrestrial life, perhaps we are overlooking the oldest data source we have: our stories. Unlike physical artifacts, stories evolve, travel, and survive. They do not rust, decay, or require decoding through machines. They live in minds, passed from parent to child, retold in the flicker of firelight or the turning of ancient pages. The story of Zheng and Li remains one of the most tantalizing in this tradition. Not because it proves the existence of aliens or moon bases, but because it refuses to die. For over a millennium, it has invited questions. Who was the man in white? What was the jade grain? Why the moon? Maybe the point of the story is not the answers it gives, but the questions it awakens. It reminds us that the universe is larger than we imagine, that reality may stretch far beyond the thin skin of what we think we know. And maybe, just maybe, someone, or something, is still watching from above. And what do you think? Was the ancient tale of the moon guardian merely a symbolic legend, wrapped in religious overtones? Or could it be a buried memory of a real encounter, far beyond the grasp of human understanding? Could it be that the stories dismissed as myth are actually the most precious clues, timeless codes that help us unlock mysteries science has yet to fully explain? Is it possible that someone, or something, is quietly watching Earth from the far edge of the sky? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We're always eager to hear your insights, your theories, and even the questions no one else dares to ask. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like the video, share it with friends, and subscribe to World Mysteries so you won't miss our next journeys, where we uncover forgotten histories, suppressed science, and legends waiting to be reawakened. And now, we leave you with one final question. What is truly hiding behind the glow of the moon?